Hey everybody, it's Doug Shelf with the Make Maine Your Home team over at Remax Oceanside. In this week's episode, we're going to talk about inheriting a property when you have siblings or with your siblings. So if you're watching this video and somebody in your life has passed away, I offer you my condolences. I'm very sorry for your loss. And hopefully this video will help with whatever situation you're dealing with here. So today, again, we're going to talk about inheriting a property when you have siblings. So let's do this. All right, everybody, like I said, we're going to talk about inheriting a property when you have siblings and other people involved. Hopefully this will help guide you through that process. So I got a couple bullet points here just to kind of make your life easier. Now, I'm going to kind of set this up on what process we're talking about. This is kind of after like the will and the probate process. So I'm not necessarily going to talk a lot about that today. This is like afterwards, like we've gone through that whole process. And now you and your siblings, let's say if there's 2 or 3 of you, you and your siblings now own a property. Now, what do we do with this? So I'm going to kind of give you a few ideas here, and hopefully this will help you out. So the first thing I have written here, have like a family meeting, assuming that you all get along. There are some cases where you don't. And if you don't, and you need to get attorneys involved and things like that, again, I'm sorry for that, but if that's the way that it has to go. Either way, I do recommend some sort of meeting just to figure out where everybody is, what you want to do with the property, and just kind of figure out like who can do what as well. Who's going to take the lead in the whole thing? Who can help if there's any renovations that need to be done? All those delegations, who can do that? Maybe one of you lives near the property and the other live somewhere else. You know, obviously it would seem like the one that lives closer can help kind of manage the whole thing and just get help from the other. So there's a lot of that. But I do recommend having that family meeting and just kind of figure out what everybody can do and can't do, and go from there. Manage utilities and insurance. Some utilities you might not need anymore. You know, unfortunately, if somebody passed away and the house is vacant or the property is vacant, you might not need cable and internet and a few of those other things. You can maybe get rid of those things. There's no reason to pay those monthly payments for that. Your insurances, you might be able to adjust your insurances on what you need there, just to get rid of any unnecessary costs and really kind of dive into it and find out if there are any other costs that you need to get taken care of. Like I have a little further down on my list, but I'll talk about it now. It's like maybe run a title check. Maybe go to a title company and just have them do that title search. And there you can check for any liens, which, you know, maybe there's some unpaid utility bills might be there. If there's any outstanding debts, you can kind of get all that and then make sure those are paid off so you don't have any encumbrances on the property. If there's any belongings in the house, I have here kind of decide what to do with that. That kind of coincides with the meeting. Like maybe you have everybody come to the house, kind of figure out what everybody wants or doesn't need. And then, of course, you make a pile for trash, you make a pile for keeping, make a pile for donating. There are also companies out there that can help out with a lot of that stuff. So I highly recommend doing some Google searches in your area to find people that can maybe help out with that if needed. So deciding what to do with your belongings can seem like a very complicated thing to do. But once you dive into it, especially if you get some help with it, it can go quickly and easily. It's always can be an emotional time to do that, but it's definitely something that you should do. Put it behind you and figure out where everything's going to go. I got another here, make any necessary repairs. You could go down the route, like let's say if you're deciding to sell it, okay, and you call your real estate broker, you can call me. I'm happy to help you out with that. You could just sell it as is. But if you do have the means to make some necessary repairs, oftentimes going through the property with a real estate broker or a stager of some sort, kind of talking about what should and shouldn't be done, you know, to get it ready for sale. Or rent, if you decide to keep it for renting, you know, getting it ready for those types of things, we can certainly help out with that. And then one thing I want to shine some light on is tax implications. I'm not an accountant and I'm not going to give you any tax advice. I'm just kind of shining a light on, you want to look at your tax implications. Talk to your accountant. Very, very important. Depending on what state you're in, like for example, here in the state of Maine, there's no inheritance tax, but there is some estate taxes. So you just want to be in the know on everything. What are your costs going to be after you sell it? You're not going to want any surprises, you know, when you go to sell it, you're sitting at the closing table and all of a sudden you find out that a huge chunk of money is going away because of taxes. You're going to want to know that ahead of time. So get an accountant involved sooner than later. Assuming you all agree, you as siblings, make sure that you all agree and make sure you get it all in writing in some way, shape, or form on, you know, who's getting what and all that kind of stuff, whether it's through, you know, through emails, whether it's an official document, everybody signs off on this is what I'm doing, get that in writing. just to be safe. Okay, it might sound weird if it's your brother and sister and you got a really good relationship, but it's always going to be good to have some sort of documentation on who's getting what and all that stuff. Even if you're the one in charge of everything, make a spreadsheet on where everything's going and what everybody's agreed on, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you share with everybody and everybody's on the same page. If you disagree, I apologize. This is where it can get real sticky, of course. And, I'm really sorry if you are in that scenario. But I highly recommend, of course, then you should get attorneys involved and get mediators involved to help figure all this out and where it goes. Your attorneys can also look back on the wills and how it was transferred to you and your siblings to see if there's anything there that maybe it's stated out what you're supposed to do with it, stuff like that. But either way, you're going to want some legal advice there if you don't agree, and you have to go that way. Now, here's a couple ways to look at what you want to do with the property. If one of the siblings wants to buy the property, that's great. I love that when that happens, when it's kind of like keep the property in the family. One sibling can maybe buy the other ones out. Whether you go out, get a mortgage on the property and then buy them out, the other siblings walk away. Now you own it. If one of you wants to live in the property, all of you own it, but maybe one lives there. Or if you did buy them out and you want to move in, that's great. You can also rent out the property, either when all of you own it or if one of you buy it out, you can fix it up and rent it. And then, of course, there's the selling of the property and splitting up the profit. And in a lot of cases, when people pass away, the largest asset that they have is the home. So sometimes this might be your full inheritance. And then you want to maximize, if you do decide to sell, you want to maximize how much you can get out of it and all that kind of stuff. And that's where a good real estate broker can sit down with you and help figure all that out. Oftentimes that's the way it goes when it comes to that. Unfortunately, people do sell those off and just, take the proceeds there. Again, when you're looking at that much money coming your way, especially if there's no mortgages and all that stuff and you're splitting up a good chunk of money, have an accountant involved, like I told you. Have an accountant, maybe even have an attorney involved, just to make sure that everything is done right and you're protected and you're not paying more taxes than you need to pay. Hey, hopefully this was helpful. Again, if somebody has passed away and that's why you're watching this video, my condolences, and hopefully this did help out a little bit. If you have any other questions, comment below or reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to help. And remember, if you make Maine your home, you don't have to do it alone.